You're listening to The Power Project, and I'm your host, Brandy Voth. It's my goal each week to inspire and empower you with stories of women that are leading purpose-filled lives and owning their God-given power. My guest today is Tiffany Scott. She is a gun safety activist, homeschool mama, motivational speaker, empowerment female extraordinaire. She's an amazing photographer, and she has a heart for helping women see themselves as God sees them. I'm so grateful to have her on this show today, you guys. I know that you are going to find so much inspiration from her positivity and her take on gratitude. So just sit back, settle in. It's kind of like a couple of girlfriends hanging out on a couch today, and we're glad to have you here. Hey guys, and welcome back to The Power Project. I'm sitting today with my guest in my cozy little guest cabin. We're looking at the leaves falling outside. It's super chilly, but we've kind of had our own little mini girlfriends retreat. For those of you that have been with me from the beginning, you may have met my friend Tiffany over on the Facebook Power Project vlog. We did an interview early on. She's someone that I'm so grateful that God's brought into my life. We've become great friends, and I think God has huge things in store for us together. And so you guys say hi to Tiffany.
Hey.
How are you?
Good.
So let me just paint the picture for those of you at home. A lot of the times my podcast interviews look like I'm doing them remote from my office. I'm by myself. My guest is somewhere across the country or the world. But today, Tiffany's sitting here on the couch, snuggling one of her adorable babies, her youngest baby. And we got to hang out on the couch last night for what we thought was going to be a podcast interview, but instead we stayed up till like 12:30, just hanging out and talking about life. And it was so good, so good. So Tiffany had reached out and asked if she could come do some writing in our cabin because it's quiet, it's away from everyone. Tiffany has like a million children. And so she needed just a quiet place to focus and write her book. So she's been writing, we've been talking and having girl time. And today we're going to share a little with you about what we have coming up and what Tiffany has going on. So you guys, my friend Tiffany Scott, homeschool mama, like boss babe, always has her hands in something. Photographer extraordinaire. For those of you that see the magic that she creates on my Insta, that is my friend Tiffany. And activist, I mean, like what? There are motivational speaker. There are so many other things that I could give her labels with. But Tiffany, tell us a little bit about you today.
Well, I think the biggest label and the longest one that I'm the most proud of is probably being a mama. I have 11 babies. My oldest by birth is going to be 18 in 2 days. Hold me, Jesus. He refuses a party or a cake or anything. So I think I'm going to steal him away for a day and just have a me and him date.
Aww.
It really all started with just me and him. I was 17 when I got pregnant with him, 18 when he was born. And we had about a year and a half together, just us trekking life and growing up together before I met my husband and got married. And we ended up with 3 kids together immediately. And then our first baby together, we lost. I had a preemie. And, we just gave that part of our life to God and prayed. The doctors weren't sure that I would ever be able to have more kids. And I really just said, okay, God, whatever you're willing to give, I'm willing to receive, hands wide open. And if that was a no, then we were willing to walk that road. 3 months later, I was pregnant with another little boy. And when he was a year old, I found out I was pregnant again. And my husband said, won't it be fun? And I said, where are we going to put all these babies? We're going to have to knock a wall out. And he literally went and got a sledgehammer and started knocking a wall out right then and there. And so I think he just thought we continued to have room. And the babies have just flowed, and we had our first grandbaby last year. He just turned a year old.
I still can't even believe that you have a grandbaby.
I know, and one more on the way.
Oh, my God.
So God has been good, and life has been full of kids in and out of slamming doors and jumping on couches and beds. And, it's just living that life of raising them up has been so fulfilling. But, our story has been intertwined with a lot of tragic and grief, and that my marriage has just, withstood. And it's made us stronger and a super tight-knit family. And through that, God has led me into speaking and led me into encouraging women who have encountered similar things or not so similar, because that's the worst thing you could say to someone is, well, I've been through this, but it hasn't been as bad. No, I really feel like your story is your story. Don't undermine your pain, because whatever it is, it's the max that you've felt. And it's not a competition.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think, I heard this and I thought about this because I heard this in a different podcast, and you and I talked last night, and we'll go a little more in your story in a bit, but you and I talked about how when we witness people go through tragedy and grief, we don't know what to say, and there's nothing we can say to make it any better. And inevitably people say the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And there was a lady, what is it, Melissa, on Annie F. Downs' podcast, I believe. And she dealt with infertility and miscarriages, like 7, before ever having a kid. And she had said that a woman who had lost a baby that had multiple other babies at home told her one time, oh, I understand, I've been through the exact same thing. And she said, my place at that time was, you don't understand because you have 4 others at home and I have none at home.
Right.
And so, yeah, like you said, it doesn't make your grief any less or your trauma that you've been through, but it's not the same thing.
No, it's not the same, but it's also not a competition. And I think that, as women, we don't have to have that to be able to say the me too, I'm here with you. I tell people that all the time. My biggest analogy is my house was burning down and I wasn't ready to be drug out. And the people who loved me the most were just willing to come and walk in it and sit in it with me and not say a word, but just be there with me. And there was this unspoken love and grace that just flowed in through it. And when I was ready to stand up and walk through that fire and drag my husband and kids out with me, there were women there who stood by me and said, okay, let's do it. You're not alone. I've got you on your right and I've got you on your left, and let's trudge through with this. And more than anything, there was God saying, I've got you. I've been here. I've had you the whole time. I'm not leaving you. I haven't forsaken you. I know that you can't see the other side of what's on this, but I promise you it's for your good. I promise you it's for my glory. And this isn't going to be wasted, your pain and your suffering. But I think that then gives us the choice to what are we going to do with that. And for me, I didn't want to stay stuck in that place of grief. I didn't want to stay bound to it. I didn't want to let that define me. I was going to let it empower me, and I was going to go back in as many burning houses as I possibly could and sit with people until they were ready to get out of it. And not let what we had been through be the defining moment of our life that took us down, but the defining moment that we were able to rise to the occasion and say, okay, here it is, use me up, pour me out, and let's get this going.
So we have gone like super deep, heavy in, like we're going to talk about the retreat that we're doing together where you're going to be speaking about gratitude. And I think it's so important for listeners at home to know that you as a person speaking about gratitude is really impactful and maybe at one point in your life laughable, for you to be talking about all the things you're grateful for. Mm-hmm. So just, as you've lost a baby, you lost your first with Tim together, and then speak to the other tragedy that you're talking about.
In 2012, I just briefly was looking for cell phones for my 2 teenagers and found someone who had 2 available. And we live out in the country, it's an hour drive anywhere. And I thought, well, I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Made an arrangement to meet the guy. Told my husband I need $500 cash out of the safe. And being a police officer, he instantly shut me down. No way. Why are you doing this? You're crazy. This guy's going to rape you, kill you, take your money.
Sounds like my husband. Don't buy stuff off Craigslist from people you don't know.
Yeah. And I'm like, headstrong. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, it's fine. You're just being paranoid, whatever. And I told him that I would take a small handgun if it made him feel comfortable. thinking like, okay, then he'll let me go. And so he got a small handgun out. It was really a hard pull. And like, as I've learned about gun safety, that's a really big misconception with women. Like, we think that the smaller, the daintier, like the easier it is. But because it was so small, the pullback on it, my little hands just couldn't do it, especially not like in the heat of the moment kind of thing. And Tim knew that. Like, still and steady, I still struggled with it. And so he put a bullet in it and loaded it for me, pulled the trigger back, or not the trigger, but pulled the chamber back on it for me and set it down on the dresser. And the kids were in and out, I'm screaming, get shoes on, get ready to go eat because I'm buying phones, not food. And, just like a typical unfolding of a family in the middle of their day, unexpectedly having to leave, And so I had a phone call to make. And when I was on the phone for maybe 3 minutes, my 6-year-old walked in and asked me if he could have some cereal. And all of a sudden I hear a loud noise. And I looked up at him and said, Trevor, what was that? And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, go check. Like, in my mind, initially, I thought the dogs. Like, what are the dogs into now? Like, they knocked something over, they broke something. And then time just stopped. And my heart dropped. And I looked up at him, and I could tell he didn't feel comfortable going out. He was scared. And I can only say that it was the Holy Spirit that said, no, you get up, you go check. And when I walked outside, I had found my 3-year-old laying on our porch. He had slipped in behind me and grabbed that gun off our nightstand and walked outside and shot himself. And that just sent our family into years of grief and trauma and working through it and what unfolded that day. And we literally had to piece back together every single part of our family and our marriage and work through some really difficult times together. And like I said, in that there were women in my life who really helped me and really stood by me. There weren't really a lot who could see me all the way through that to the point that I was. But I'm still super grateful and thankful for the season that they were there in. And not only just that, but it was such an intimate, deep time. And so many people just wanted to know the details. And just were, I think we've talked about this before, that when you go through a tragedy, there are the people who genuinely care and just stand back and are like, okay, call me when you need me. And we'll just sit there and not say a word. But then there are the people who just want in it and just want to know and just,
Yeah.
And unfortunately. And so trying to weed through that, I didn't have to. Like, I knew who my people were. I knew my tribe, and they showed up, and they showed up strong. And God's light just shined through them in ways of such a dark place. And I, never really had a lot of women growing up. Like, I didn't like girls in high school. They weren't very
Ditto,
nice.
Because girls in high school are terrible.
Yeah. And
Junior high, maybe even worse.
And then being a young mom, especially a teenage mom, that circle really didn't fit me well either, because most of the other women were a lot older than me and their lives looked a lot different than what I was still walking, going to college and working full time, raising a son on my own. I just really didn't feel like I fit in a lot of places with women. In church, I didn't have the time to spend, and we were all at just different places. It seemed like I was always either a step ahead or a step behind.
Yes.
And so to have this circle that God built up was so special to me, because it was probably really the first time that I had it. And little did I know what he was preparing me for. And I think that talking to women about coming together and cultivating that, like, it's so important. We tend to push that off to the back burner. Like, we have to serve our husbands and our homes and our kids and, the little bit that's left, our passions and so we tend to put our relationships with each other off on the back burner. And it's the last thing. Like, we're quick to back out on our girlfriends. Like,
oh, yeah.
I'm tired tonight. It's not going to work. Or, so planning this retreat, this get-together, this gathering for these women. So many women, their excuse, and I don't mean excuse
right.
in a
no,
bad
you're fine.
way.
You have permission to speak freely on this podcast.
But their reasoning for not showing up, like, I have so many women say, oh, I want to come. I'm so excited. Only to send me a message later and say, oh, well, my husband has this, or my kid has this game, and I understand it. I really do. I understand, wanting to be there for your husband and have keep that your norm and your commitments to your kids' sports. But there has to be a time where we say yes to each other.
And also, on that same note, like where we fill our own cup.
Absolutely.
And I know personally, you and I both, we have the same vision for women and community. And I know that just being amongst women where we're talking and sharing and being spoken into and speaking into others and finding out, guess what? We all struggle with the same crap.
Yeah. And so here's what I found in this journey through my grief and with my girlfriends and the friendships that were built and the friendships that were broken. We still need each other, and you have to overcome this barrier with each other of you have to be the same age, or you have to have the same interest, or your life has to look similar, or your kids have to be friends. Some of my closest friends and mentors have been women who are either way older than me, and please give me all of your wisdom.
Yes.
Especially raising teenagers. Find me someone who has walked ahead of me.
Fix it, Jesus.
Yes. Or women who are behind me who I can say, oh my goodness, I'm so thankful that I've walked this and can pour this onto you and tell you it's going to be okay. You are going to survive the toddler years. You are going to survive this fight you just had with your husband. And it takes that ugly part of your story that you thought, why, and gives it just a little bit more purpose outside of yourself. And so I think that it is so important because, listen, we're all going to go through a hard time. We're all going to have hard seasons. They might not be as significant or as deep or as painful as what others are, or when we play that comparison game, not everyone is going to lose a child. Not everyone is going to bury 2 children. Not everyone is going to struggle with the same marital issues. But we all struggle at the end of the day. We all have our own demons that we're fighting and our own goals that we're reaching for, whether we admit it or not. And if we don't take the time in and out of those seasons to cultivate a relationship and build a community with other women, we're not going to have anyone there when we hit those places. And we're not going to feel comfortable going into those conversations and saying, last night we were talking about raising boys and this world of pornography and social media and how do you navigate that? That's not an easy conversation to have with other mothers that you first meet.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, does your kid know about porn? Because we should talk.
How do you handle that?
Yeah.
So, I think that I just cannot encourage women enough out of season to find that person. And hey, I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 shiny pennies.
Oh, yeah.
So give me women who are going to be that for me, and let's walk life together. Let's do this without expectations. I'm not saying that you have to show up on my front porch every Saturday night and drown our sorrows out, but answer the phone. Don't just send a text. Make that phone call. Say no to a few things that you're used to saying yes to, and fill yourself with community, because you're going to find yourself at a place in life, whether it's in those toddler years or through something horribly traumatic or just the loneliness of empty nesting, where you're like, where are my people? And I remember looking back at someone who went through it and the people who surrounded her. I just admired her so much for the love that was being bestowed on her. But it was because she was one of those women. She was the woman that was doing that for other people and had showed up. So when it was her time, women didn't think twice about showing up for her. And I just thought, I want to be one of those women. I want that. And so this journey of grieving my son and navigating trauma, there weren't a lot of women who could hang with me. And God bless them. I don't blame them. I would have ran away from me too at times. It wasn't pretty. But there was always another woman after God would take me through that place that showed up and continued on doing life. And so instead of being bitter and resentful and like, well, she couldn't hang, or nobody loves me, or I'm just not that woman, I took it as a season. And so as I started thinking of this idea of gathering women together, and really women who don't know each other, who live, different lives, who live in different areas and are wanting and craving that, I thought, Bible studies are really hard. Like, you can really only squeeze one of those in a year. And that's even a huge commitment to make, the time that you need for that. Book clubs require something. A seasonal gathering requires very little of us. I mean, it's really like 4 times a year.
Right.
You can commit to 4 times a year.
If I'm going to tell you this right now, if you don't have time to get together with girlfriends 4 times a year, leave the husband and the kids at home, come as you are, workout clothes, scrubs, business clothes, what have you, and come spend 2 to 3 hours pouring into each other, you're doing something wrong in your life.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be like the deep, it's just, like one of the things we have planned for this is a gratitude yoga. And at first I was really hesitant because I'm like, oh, great. Then there's always that, well, there's going to be people who aren't interested in that, or who it's not their thing. And
I don't do yoga. I'm not flexible enough to do yoga.
Okay,
that means that your bedroom's too dirty to clean. Like, if you say that.
I've never done yoga, but I'm so excited. And it might be something that I'm like, okay, this is not for me.
No, you're going to love it.
But
it's my favorite.
I'm totally willing to sacrifice myself for you guys to laugh at me. Like, either way, it's going to be a good night. But I thought, what a great way to break the barriers of what to wear. What a great way to just say that. Come as you are. Like,
yep.
We planned it in the evening, so you can go ahead and make dinner early in the afternoon, turn that crock pot on, get your people ready, pop a movie in for the kids before bed, whatever you need to do so that you can come, and then come comfortable, so that when you leave totally renewed and refreshed and are ready to really just throw it off and crawl into bed and face the next day.
Yeah, and so you guys, let me just give you a little background. So I met Tiffany very shortly after her son had passed. And my youngest is the same age that he was. A lot of similarities that we didn't know. We didn't get to have them together. We didn't know each other back then. And honestly, like, when I first met her, it was one of those things I was like, okay, this lady wants to be my friend. Like, but I don't know. She's got a lot of kids, and she drives like a van because she has so many kids. I'm going to have to like sit back and watch for a second.
She might be one of those weirdos.
Like, yeah, is she cool or is she nuts? Like, she might be a little nuts, but she's my kind of crazy.
I'm kind of both.
Yeah. And so we've just had this journey that God keeps like intertwining us, and our kids are great friends with each other. We really have a very like free range children type of parenting. Don't get me wrong. It's like she's on a farm and homeschooling all of her children, and it's a lifestyle I know nothing about. But throughout all of this, she and I had spoken about maybe doing a retreat, and
because we both love to speak.
Yeah, we love to speak. We love to speak into women, and we had kind of looked at what it was going to look like. And so last year when I started planning my retreat, she was once again having a kid because has a lot of them.
It's about an every other year.
Yeah, she's been pregnant more than I've known her to be not pregnant. And so she wasn't able to do the retreat, but we did a retreat, and it was a weekend deal, not just, the one evening. We did the yoga also, and I had a room full of people that had never done yoga. Yeah, I have a girlfriend that does holy yoga at the retreats, and we had people who've never done it before, and they loved it because it set us up. It really opens you up to receive what's going to be spoken in that room. So we had this event venue open up in town, and I immediately went to the owner and was like, hey, I do women's retreats. I do empowerment coaching. I want to start doing monthly get-togethers, at your venue where we just sit around and talk into women, speak into women, talk about things. Then my life was crazy, and I have not been able to put it into action. And then Tiffany tells me, hey, I talked to the owner of this, this venue in town, and I'm wanting to start doing regular meetups. I'm like, yes, girl, that is what we have been talking about, but I don't have the tools in my tool belt right now to make it happen. So you make it happen, and I will show up, whatever you want to do. And so then Tiffany has now put together this grace, gratitude, and grit.
Yeah. God has been telling me to do this for a long time. And I'm like, I'm kind of busy. Like, you've got all these other things.
You have a lot of children and things going on.
Yeah, and there are just so many commitments. And I really have been super cautious of my yeses. Not that I think that I can say yes or no to God, but right. I just kept saying okay, well, and the type A kind of kicked in, and I thought, well, the first of the year, that's a better time. People start doing those kinds of things at the beginning of the year, not the end of the year. And I thought, and then Rachel Hollis started her
last 90
day challenge, and I thought, okay, maybe these women need to hear it at the end of the year and not the beginning of the year.
Well, they can hear it at the end and the beginning, and they can come to our big retreat at the end of January.
So I thought, okay, I'm just going to do this on a whim, and I really did not even have it planned out. I thought, okay, God, well, I'll do it seasonally. That's 4 times a year. We can handle that. And you're going to have to give me the words. I don't know what to talk to these women about. So then I started thinking into seasons. And what is the season that we're in? Fall and autumn. What does this bring? Spiritually, physically, what are we enduring? Where are we at? Well, grace is always something as mothers and women that we need. And I don't think we give ourselves enough of. And so that was a no-brainer. And gratitude, we're entering the season of thanks. And that is something that I feel so strongly about. And I thought, grace and gratitude. Wait a second, we're missing something. Grit. We need the grit along with the grace and the gratitude. And it just kind of flowed. So I'm thinking, as I start this with God leading fully, that every season will bring a new theme and a new topic to enter the season into. For this season, it's the grace, the grit, and the gratitude. And I'm hoping, I prayed and I thought, okay, just 20 women. Just give me 20 women. And I really needed at least 10 or 15 to make it financially feasible.
To make you not losing money.
Yeah.
I understand.
And we topped out at 28. I cut it off. And then I got a text message from someone that I don't know that said, can me and my friend come still? Absolutely. Doors wide open. Yes.
Oh, I have 3 of those, by the way, that have told me they're coming. And they're like, it may be last minute, but I'm like, it's fine. We're not going to turn you away. I promise.
No, we won't turn you away. We might not have swag bags to give, but we will have something to give you. And absolutely, the doors are always open. And I think that that's really what I want to cultivate is, yes, I want to do these gatherings seasonally, but I hope that women can meet other women there, and it encourages them to open their doors to each other more often and to realize and leave. So in this, I thought, okay, what do we need to address? How do you go about refilling? How do you pour into someone? What does that look like? And I looked back at the time that I was completely emptied out, and what did other women do for me? How did they pour into me? And it was fully my mind, my body, and my soul that needed that renewal. And that's really how I approached the night. And I just started praying, okay, God, what can I do for these women's minds? What can we do for their body? Enter yoga. What can we do for their souls? And so that's how I started to base the night off of. And okay, now God, give me other women. And instantly you came to mind for the grit. And I have another friend, Corinne, you're going to love, who has such a beautiful testimony and story and is such a strong woman that I admire. And I messaged her and I thought, okay, God, I'm not orchestrating this. I'm going to ask her which one she wants to do, grace or gratitude, and I'll just take whatever. And she said, I can talk on grace all day long. And I thought, okay, give me gratitude because that's my thing. And I haven't called you guys. I haven't tried to orchestrate any of it. It truly is a night that I want God to lead, and whatever he is putting on the people that I have gathered to help me with the, love on these women, essentially, because that's what it is. We just want to love. And I don't want to orchestrate that. I want it to be whatever God is giving them, because I know that there's at least one woman there that's going to need to hear whatever is spoken and said that night. And if one woman out of those 28 leaves, it was worth it, and we accomplished something. And if two women come together and make a friendship, then it was even greater. And if it ends up building up into a community, well, God bless it. But I'm willing to go through the work and plan it out, because who doesn't love a good plan?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm willing to do that for women to see, because I don't think that it's something that they even realize that they're missing.
Oh, hands down. And you're going to love it. I'm still so sad that you weren't with us last year at our first retreat. Because it literally, everyone walked away, and God had all the people that were supposed to be there at that retreat. And we all walked away. I was so fulfilled by just the time spent with the women and listening to the other speakers. And I think everyone there was like, no, we are hungry for more. We will do, small events, big events, you name it, we're going to be there. And I think it's something that we desperately need in this area. I know that I see it happen. I have friends in the Metroplex and in other towns, and they have all these opportunities to go to these different women's networking events or women's nights of encouragement. And so I'm so excited that it's happening here locally for all of our friends in this community to come together, because let's be honest, you can know every person in the county, and you can still have days where you feel completely alone on an island.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's easier to get out of your comfort zone and out of your circle and step into another one and not feel like there are any expectations on you. And so I hope that that's something that this becomes for other women too. I mean, as much as I think that it would be a great community, I also want it to always be a safe place for women who don't feel like they have that or aren't at a good place with the circle that they're in. And hopefully it'll give them the tools to go back in and repair and fix friendships. Because, one of the things we were talking about last night, as women, it is so hard to endure the loss of a friendship as an adult. And you think back to your childhood, and it seems so catty and childish, that feeling of being that little girl whose best friend just broke up with her on the playground because she didn't want to go on the swings or down the slide. And the devastation. But we still feel that as women. And there are so many insecurities that I think we run from when it comes to each other. I was doing my devotional this morning, and it was talking about your thoughts and what are the things that you allow yourself to think, and do you allow those to control your feelings? And I really gave it some thought going into this week with the gathering coming up. And I thought, some of my most negative thoughts throughout my life have been relationships with other women, and I didn't even realize it. And I thought, I'm always thinking, are they going to judge me? Am I dressed okay? Or did I say the wrong thing? Did I talk too much? Did I talk too loud? Did I, it's my own insecurities, but I put this off on other people. And it really has hindered me from allowing an authentic friendship and allowing me to be that for someone else, because I'm always afraid that I'm going to say or do the wrong thing in my past relationships. And so here I am, pushing 40. And I'm like, finally.
I can't even believe that that's around the corner for us. I'm kind of excited. It's fine.
And and I, it's a pride kind of thing. I'm proud. Wow. I'm really liking the person that I'm looking at in the mirror, finally, because I've worked damn hard to be this person.
Yes.
And so, but with that, raising daughters, I was telling you last night, I have these two little girls who are 5 and 7. And it's I see them, we've talked a lot, where do women learn to compete with each other? Where does that come from? And as I see them encounter other little girls and their own little friendships, and some of it is just absolutely beautiful, and I'm so proud. And other times I'm mortified. Oh my gosh, we got to work on that. The best way I can teach my girls to be good friends is to be a good friend and for them to see me with my friends.
I think you're doing a really great job, and I can't wait to hear what you speak into the women and the friendships that come out of it. But for those that can't be with us at the retreat or the women's gathering Friday evening, tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Okay, so you can find me at Tiffany Scott on Facebook, or I think it's Tiffany_Scott on Instagram. And then I also have a blog that's TiffanyScottOnline.com.
Perfect. And you guys are going to want to watch Tiffany because she has a lot of things in the works right now. All kinds of things that I can't even get into. She's writing the book. I'm very anxious for the book to come out. There's some other really exciting things going on that if you want to go follow her on her social media sites, she'll keep you updated with the dates that those things are going to be released. And if you guys have any questions about grief, if you're a mother stuck in this place right now, if you need some help and you need some words of encouragement, I will tell you she's not ever going to be the person that tells you that it's okay and you can wallow in it.
No.
She's going to tell you to get up and put your big girl panties on and keep moving forward. Because I think one of the most impactful statements that she ever told me was that, and you've said it repeatedly, you refuse to let this define you, right? Yeah. And you decided it wasn't going to be in vain, but you were going to make sure that it blessed other people.
Absolutely. You know, I think that I had to make the decision that I wanted my son's life and his death to honor him. And I wanted to be a person he recognized when I meet him in heaven. I wanted him to be proud of what I did with what was left.
Yes.
And that the only way, you know, and this is the gratitude, the only way I feel like you can make something beautiful come from something ugly is to open your hands wide to Jesus and say, fill it, and to give thanks for it. And so it just put me on this pursuit and this deep search of looking for everything good in any situation and in people. And here I am.
You've done amazing. You've done amazing. You've raised amazing children. I love your kids. They're some of my favorite people on the face of the planet. I'm so thankful to have you as my friend. I can't wait for Friday evening. I think it's going to be amazing.
It is.
I'm really grateful that you like to plan stuff because my plan now.
I'm excited. And I think, you know, hopefully it'll encourage other women who aren't in our area and are physically cannot come to start doing these similar things in their own area. The Eucalyptus Room is where we're hosting
Yes.
it. It's a great little micro venue, and it's another mom boss. It's another female who is chasing her dreams. And what better way to support each other than to support each other's dreams? And so that was another thing behind doing this that I really wanted to cultivate and weave within it, is that I want to support as many small businesses as I could and as many women who are working to build a dream for their family and for themselves and to chase that. And so the swag bags, I went to all of my female friends who have their own hustle going and said, hey, what can I buy from you? What can you give me a discount on? And 90% of them were like, I'm just doing this for free. I believe in this. And so I think that part of this, I want to say for other women who may want to do something similar in their area, is to try to cultivate that within it and weave that inside and reach out to the women who are trying to build their businesses and ask them, because you can help each other. And that's really what it's about.
I think that's a super talent of yours. You are such a supporter, such a supporter. You are always you've always supported everything I've ever done. I've seen you support an entire network of women. So that brings me to the question that I ask everyone on the podcast. If you were a superhero, what would your superhero name be? Oh, goodness. And what would your talent, your superpower that sets you aside from all other superheroes be?
Okay, so that's a really, I wasn't prepared for that.
That's okay, no one ever is.
So my kids, instantly I think of our family, we each have little Indian names. And my husband always nicknamed me Squaw No Make Pie.
Squaw No Make Pie.
Because for the life of me, I cannot bake a pie. That man grew up with women who had a choice of 3 pies every day for his meals. And his poor wife, I can't do it. So that's my Indian name. So I know about that. But superhero, I would probably say my superpower. I'm a photographer, so I look at things a lot through a lens. And I would love to be able to give people the ability to see themselves, women themselves, and their situations through the eyes of God. Like, I really wish, and not like in a almighty kind of way, but in a grace kind of way. Like, to step back, I was telling you, when I do photography, I see so many women who just don't see themselves. And my favorite thing about taking pictures of families and couples is the way that their man and their kids look at them. And 9 times out of 10, when a woman sees her picture, she doesn't see that. She sees all of the things that she doesn't like about herself. And that's her first go-to. Well, my hair doesn't look good. I was having a bad hair day. Or, oh my gosh, my makeup was awful that day. Or, I just couldn't lose the 5 pounds. Or, whatever it be. Oh, that shirt looked awful on me. And it just breaks my heart for them. Because when I'm editing the pictures, I'm looking into their eyes and I'm seeing the love within it. Or I'm seeing them come out from a hard season. And so, I don't know if that's like a superhero.
100%.
Right. I would just love to be that superhero carrying a camera around and saying, see it? And for them to truly be able to see themselves through that. I wish I could just zap them. And for a minute, they could see.
I think that's an amazing superpower. I think we'll call you Squano Make Pie with Camera.
How random is that, right?
I love it. This has been so much fun. You're going to have to come back out to the cabin and we have more girl time like this.
Thank you for having me. I needed it so bad.
Oh, you're welcome. I look forward to Friday night. And you have to get home to your million children. And
I'm done. They are ready for mom.
All right, girl. Well, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. You guys, I am so grateful for all of the incredibly strong females that God brings into my life. And I mean every word when I tell you how grateful I am to have her as a friend and part of my tribe in this journey. If you guys like what you heard today, I just ask that you please go over to iTunes, subscribe to this podcast, write a review, get crazy, and go share us on all forms of social media. Tell your friends, girl. And if you want to come hang out with me and Tiffany in person and hear us speak on grit, grace, and gratitude, we would love to have you as our guest this Friday night. Simply shoot me an email at brandy@thepowerproject.com. It's the-powerproject.com. As always, go out and live your most purpose-filled lives, and I'll talk with you next Tuesday.